So I know you think you thought Trump and Russiagate was over. It is not. Our favorite Rachel Maddow. Now, if I were to sit down to write a comedy sketch, it wouldn't be much different than this. If I was going to try to write a parody of Rachel Maddow in this moment right now, I don't think I had to have to change a word. Because she even makes fun of herself at the end unwittingly. The unacknowledged ironies through this whole thing by her is just, and I'm glad I have Aaron Matei with me, because he wrote one of the only articles that I saw that actually called out Rachel Maddow for this kind of garbage, back when The Intercept would actually print something worth fucking reading. That was 2017, I think, right? That was early 2017. That's when Glenn Greenwald was still there, and I'm sure he had to break some chins to get that article printed in The Intercept, right?
He did. It was the only reason I got to write the article is because of him. Absolutely.
That's right. So here she is. Ready? Are you ready? Here we go.
One of the things we learned just this week from the intelligence director is that part of the disastrous Trump COVID response is that...
First of all, I like that she learns things from the intelligence community. Other journalists debunk things from the intelligence community. Rachel Maddow learns them. So she's a student, and, the CIA, they're the instructors. That's how this works, right? She's sitting in the front row, and she's got her homework done, by the way. Her dog did not eat it, and she's got an extra pencil in case you need one. That's how prepared Rachel Maddow is for her class at the CIA. They're going to teach her about what's going on. You want to hear what they learned her? Watch what she got learned.
One of the things we learned just this week from the intelligence director is that part of the disastrous Trump COVID response...
That would be like if this was 2001, I would say something we just learned this week from the CIA is that Saddam's working with the Al-Qaeda and he's got nuclear bombs. That's what we learned this week. Not what we were told by the CIA and we should take skeptically. Not the propaganda that's being spewed now that we're going to look into because there's been no corroborating evidence. This story that the government's saying now that we can't actually verify. No, she's not saying any of that. She's saying we learned this thing. Why? Because they said it. That's it. That's her journalistic rigor. It doesn't exist. And I have 9 out of 10 of my ex-comedy friends in Hollywood watch her credulously. I'm not fucking... You think I'm kidding?
One of the things we learned just this week from the intelligence director is that part of the disastrous Trump COVID response is that Trump put in a key COVID response role one of the people who helped Russian intelligence with its 2020 election attack.
You know why our COVID response sucks so bad? Russia! Fucking Russia! And you know, why didn't she blame Russia when Texas got frozen out? Because that's what she does anyway. That's her whole thing. Remember, she said Russia could pull the plug on our heating grid. And then it got pulled, and she didn't blame them. But she is going to blame them for our COVID response. And she's laughing because she knows it's a fucking joke now. She's saying that Trump botched the COVID response because Russia wanted him to. That's what she's saying. You know, blaming a foreign country when your country fails miserably during a pandemic is something you would expect from the right wing. But this is Biden's Putin debate prep coach, by the way, right here. You know, they're going to have a debate, Biden and Putin. She's going to be here we go. So this is what she's saying right now. It gets even dumber. You want to hear it? It gets dumber.
I mean, how do you even begin to unravel that? How do you even begin to get accountability for that?
Okay, the way you begin to unravel that, I'm going to tell you this is how journalism works. I already smoked pot today, so I'm going to tell you how it works. Okay? And I'm going to say it extra loud so we can get through your fake eyelashes and into your brain. How you unravel that is the jumping off point is that the intelligence community is lying. That's where you start. And until you can confirm what the intelligence community is saying, you consider it a lie. That's how you unravel it. Now, did you confirm any of that? No. Did you do any journalism on this? Zero. Are you repeating propaganda straight from the CIA intelligence community? Yes. Uncritically? Yes. Are you committing journalistic malfeasance? Yes. Are you doing straight up propaganda? Yes. Are you manufacturing consent? Yes. That's what she's doing. And people have a problem with fucking Fox News? Somehow they're better? This is better? This is somehow fucking better. This is the kind of shit you get at the Young Turks.
And when does the Justice Department start knocking on people's doors about this stuff?
What?
I mean, this is not a...
Nothing verified, not just some wild accusation that Trump put a fucking Russian puppet in charge of COVID, and she wants to know, when is the FBI going to start knocking on people's doors? When is a psychiatrist going to start knocking on people's doors at MSNBC? That's my question. When is social workers, the whole thing. To try to how do you unwind this? This crazy Jack in the Box. You never know when it's going to pop.
Normal level of stuff that needs fixing. This is nutty stuff.
Yes.
This is nutty. Watch this space.
And watch this space. So she's been saying this for fucking 5 years, and now she's still doing. Watch this space. We've got traitors. You've been saying Trump was a traitor for 5 years. And somehow the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the DNI, nobody can catch him. But he even had Russia run our COVID response. You know it. Does James Comey know it? She knows it. And she says it's nutty stuff. It is nutty stuff, Rachel. It is very nutty stuff. Aaron, a real journalist, would you like to weigh in on that piece of videotape?
The problem with it, it's like nothing I say can do justice to how fucking funny it is. It's like a bit. It's as you said, it's like you couldn't, if you were trying to write a Rachel Maddow parody, I mean, it's exactly that. It's so fucking stupid. And it speaks to how, as you say, these people are not journalists, they're stenographers. You know, the most accurate claim that I saw in the media about this intelligence report was buried in an article in the New York Times about it. You know, the truth is always, or sometimes it's buried near the bottom. And the Times says, the declassified report did not explain how the intelligence community had reached its conclusions about Russian operations during the 2020 election. And despite that very glaring fact, which the Times managed to acknowledge in passing at the bottom of an article, people like Rachel Maddow not only accepted all of its conclusions, but then even invented their own crazy conclusions of their own, like Russia had somehow infiltrated Trump's COVID-19 response. And you saw on Twitter too, like, remember back before the election when we were banned basically from talking about Hunter Biden's laptop because some anonymous officials said it might be Russian disinformation. So then, like, so this report comes out, doesn't even mention Hunter Biden's laptop or provide any evidence whatsoever that Russia is behind anything to do with Hunter Biden. But people were saying on Twitter, this is the proof Hunter Biden's laptop did come from Russia, you know, in your face. And like they were trying to, like, it doesn't even mention the fucking laptop. So it's a deranged cult. That's why I call it Blue Anon. It's I think more dangerous than QAnon, because QAnon is a group of people mostly confined to internet chat rooms. A couple of people went to protest. There's maybe one or two members of Congress who are down with QAnon, but Blue Anon has infected the entire liberal establishment media pretty much. Their influence networks, to use a intelligence community term, are on major networks broadcasting propaganda like this to millions of people every single night. There are members of Congress who are blue anon adherents, like Adam Schiff, who read the Steele dossier into the congressional record.
Jesus.
So we have disinformation constantly, but it's Russiagate disinformation. And Rachel Maddow, the fact that she can still do this after 4 years of humiliation, of failed bombshells, and still say with a straight face after all of it, watch this space.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
It's unbelievable.
But you understand that's what it's all about. Please keep watching, because people have stopped watching Rachel Maddow because Trump and Russia have left the news. And so now she's reinvigorating the Russia-Trump conspiracy theory. And what does she say? Please watch this space. Keep watching.
Yeah.
Why keep watching? You really think something's going to come of this, Rachel? You've been saying this for 5 fucking years. Remember what they were saying? Remember she was saying?
And it is like negative 50 degrees in the Dakotas right now. What would happen if Russia killed the power in Fargo today? Right? What would happen if all the natural gas lines that service Sioux Falls just poofed on the coldest day in recent memory, and it wasn't in our power whether or not to turn them back on? I mean, what would you do if you lost heat indefinitely?
So that's what she wanted you to be afraid of during the winter. Russia's going to turn off our power. But, the real threat was, of course, the privatization and the neoliberalization of our power grid. That was the real problem. As Shama Sawant pointed out, millions are freezing in Texas due to an unmitigated failure of deregulated and privatized energy. States like Texas, California have seen massive privatization of power grids for years and a model of perpetual auctions, nonstop bidding, and profit maximization. She should have been doing that story last winter. Instead, she was saying, hey, if Russia's going to turn off your heat. No, the people who are going to turn off your heat are the capitalists who fucking buy ad time on your TV show. That's who's going to turn off. Not fucking Putin or Russia. And Rachel Maddow knows that. And she's 1,000% corrupt. And she's a straight up liar for the establishment for $30,000 a day. And God damn it, I would do it too. I'm not better than her. I wear fake eyelashes without being paid.
It'd be a fun acting job to pretend that you're a serious anchor and then every night spewing like this insane Russia conspiracy that gets crazier every night because you have no evidence. So you have to keep coming up with more explanations for the absence of any evidence and keep doubling down and going into things like saying that Russia is going to turn off everyone's heat. And by the way, it speaks to what Russiagate is all about. Under the guise of resisting Trump, it really was a privilege protection racket. So instead of looking at American dysfunctions, American oligarchs, the ones who cause our problems, the ones who created the failed system that allowed Donald Trump's presidency to even exist in the first place, instead of focusing on that, we're talking about Russian oligarchs. And we're inventing fantasies about Russia turning off our power during winter, or Russia even being responsible for or infiltrating Trump's pandemic response. It's such a joke.
Trump takes up so much space in Rachel Maddow's brain. He's thinking of building a golf course in there. I don't know if this is true, but I learned this week from the intelligence community that Rachel Maddow boycotted the Big Lebowski because he liked to drink White Russians. That's what I learned. I learned that. So it's a fact because I learned it. Someone said it and then I heard it. That means learning. According to Rachel Maddow, that's learning. When someone says something and I hear it and then I repeat it, that's learning. You mean you don't apply any critical thought to it? No, that's not learning. Learning isn't thinking about what you're being told. That's something else. Here is, and by the way, Rachel Maddow uses photos of immigrant children held in cages during Obama administration while blaming Trump for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you make $30,000 a day and work for one of the most powerful companies in the world, who's got time to fact check a Google image? Who's got that kind of time? Fact is, she knew it was fake and did it anyway. Because I knew it was fake when they did it, and I was high. So you think that her and all her producers didn't know those pictures were the wrong ones? They knew it. What kind of a person do you actually think? Do you actually think she's a good person? That's what we had that Republican Richard Martin said. Oh, you liberals, you think because someone's a homosexual that they're moral. I don't think I've laughed that hard since. But that is true. It's same thing with Chris Hayes. Oh, you liberals. You think because someone is a nerd that they wouldn't lie to you. That is what you think. Right? You know, that fucking nerd, he's a nerd. He's not going to lie to me. Yes, he would. And by the way, so Rachel Maddow, watch this space because they're going to start knocking on doors, right? And where have I heard that before? When did I hear that? Because Trump and Russia and...
Donald Trump's done. He's done. There's no question about that. He's done.
Breaking news.
A bombshell.
Today is a turning point. Today was historically bad for President Trump.
Today was a turning point.
A turning point.
We're at a turning point here.
The beginning of the end for the Trump presidency.
The beginning of the end.
And breaking news.
We have another bombshell.
Mike Pence might have to assume the office of the presidency.
The call for impeachment.
Rumblings of the word impeachment.
Breaking news.
Another bombshell out of the White House.
I believe this is the beginning of the end.
I do too.
It's really the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
He may be feeling the walls closing in on him.
All the walls closing in on him.
The walls closing in on him.
Breaking news, a new bombshell.
One astrologer says this means the beginning of the end for President Donald Trump.
The beginning of the end of the Trump presidency.
Trump will resign.
Trump is going to resign.
Is this the tipping point? I know we've said it over and over.
You think this is a tipping point?
And over and over.
This is a tipping point.
And over and over.
Breaking news, President Trump off the rails.
It was the beginning of the end today.
The beginning of the end.
It reminds me a lot of the last days of Nixon.
Breaking news tonight, new bombshell.
This is the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
The walls are closing in.
The walls closing in.
The walls closing in.
Breaking overnight bombshell.
This is a very dramatic day, and I think it might be near a tipping point. Do you think this is a tipping point?
This is unbelievable. This is remarkable. Have you ever seen anything like this?
His presidency is crippled.
December 1st, 2017, you can mark it down. This is the day that everything changed.
We begin with the bombshell.
The beginning of the end?
The beginning of the end.
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 In fact, if this were a football game, we're in the third quarter. May even be the beginning of the end.
We begin tonight with the bombshell.
Donald Trump is in a lot of trouble.
Trump is in trouble.
The president will resign.
Another hour, another bombshell.
This is a tipping point.
Trump's going down.
This president could be impeached.
I do not think the president will serve out his term. Resignation. I don't think this president is going to serve out his term. Mr. Trump will not serve out his term. He will not serve out his term. No way. No how. Breaking news.
Absolute bombshell.
I think Donald Trump is in trouble.
Donald Trump is not. He's done. And it's over. It's over.
The walls closing in.
The walls closing in. This is going to be the Achilles heel.
Breaking news tonight.
I expect Trump to depart. This week will be the watershed week. Trump is in big trouble.
Trump's in a lot of trouble.
It's a sign of a terrified old man who feels the
Walls
Closing in.
The walls
are increasingly
Closing in on him.
Tonight, the walls
are closing in.
Today changed everything. This is the beginning
of the end.
Today, the biggest
Tipping point for the Trump administration.
What a historic day. The bombshells, they fell.
It's entropy and it's crumbling internally.
He's underwater. He feels the walls closing in.
Could his testimony be a turning point?
We may be at a tipping point.
It's the beginning of
The end.
The beginning.
of the end.
Another bombshell.
bombshell. Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
This is a bombshell. It is a bombshell.
I am beginning to resent the word bombshell.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine Aaron not being able to laugh at that like we are able to laugh at that? Can you imagine being one of the assholes actually saying those things and pushing those things? Can you imagine having a YouTube show and being that stupid as fucking regular media? Could you imagine that? That's what the Young Turks are.
And how many of those people have taken any responsibility
None.
for what?
None.
Zero. And that's what blows my mind every time I see clips like this. Like, in any other field, including in politics, there would be some level of accountability. There'd be something. I'm sure probably a politician would maybe, as was the case with Adam Schiff and all these other people who pushed this, they're still in their jobs. But at least they were somewhat embarrassed. But in this case, in the media, it's like if you fail, you get promoted, you move up. There's nothing. And, again, going back to what we were talking about before with even Democracy Now! Ignoring the OPCW Syria cover-up, the fact that Amy Goodman is in that reel just speaks to how sad the state of our media is today, where even what was once the exception to the rulers, that's what Democracy Now! Really was for a long time, is now right there in lockstep with them. And no reckoning at all for this 4-year embarrassment from anybody. It speaks to it speaks to what an insular elite bubble our media is. And that's not what media should be. It should be about giving voice to real people and their concerns. Instead, they're living in this fantasy world where fucking the walls are closing in every day for 4 years. And no matter how many times all these bombshells turned into duds, it didn't stop any of them and didn't lead to any accountability. It's like, it's mind-blowing to see it every time.
Okay. All right, Aaron, we'll say thank you for coming on today. I hope you enjoyed it. Everybody check out Aaron Matei's work at The Gray Zone, Pushback. Anywhere else people should look for you?
As I said before, look inside yourself. Look inside yourself.
You know, he who looks outward dreams. He who looks inward awakens.
That's right. That's right.
That's what we're doing here. We're doing the woke news. We're awakening. Yes. That's right. We're awakening, but to the neoliberal nightmare that we're living in. Now, are you going to have kids, Aaron? Do you think you should have kids in this world?
I'd like to.
Are you fucking kidding me? You're going to put kids into this world?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't yet, so you never know. But I'd like to. Yeah.
And now your dad did all the research, so if you fuck your kids up, there's no excuse for it.
It's my fault. Oh my God, yes, a lot of pressure on me.
Your kids
a lot of pressure on me there. I got to get this one right. Yes.
Yeah, there's no room. We all know. No. Yeah, boy, that's got to be tough.
Yeah. That's a recipe for a real healthy child. Is a neurotic parent, trying to avoid any trauma whatsoever. That's going to turn out great. Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
And you got to have adversity. You got to have something. You have to be in a position of where you want to get the fuck out of it, right? That's how you find out who you are, what you're made of, what you're willing to fight for. That's how you discover who you are. If you grow up comfortable and well-fed, you become boring, right?
I mean, I grew up well-fed, so it's not like I can sit.
And so that's the boring part.
I believe that every experience helps us become a better person. I truly do believe that, no matter how difficult.
I do too. And listen, I'll see you at the drum circle later.
It's a plan.
Okay,
it's a plan. Namaste.
Okay, namaste. All right, Aaron Matei, everybody. Hey, everybody, this is the part where I tell you where all our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then this is why I tell you to join our premium program and get extra content, but nobody's got a fucking job. So just enjoy the video.